Good morning to everyone. Nice to see you all at the Financing Blue Bioeconomy 201 event. I'm Elari Seer from Tartu Technology Park. We provide business development and consultancy services to companies and R&D institutions in the fields of biotechnology, medicine, and veterinary medicine. The event is jointly organized by Baltic Blue Biotechnology Alliance, plus together with SUBMARINER Network for Blue Growth. Tartu Biotechnology Park belongs to both of them. We have 4 presentations today, and after each of it, we will have a short Q&A. You can add your question to the chat already during the presentations. And to keep it short and sweet, I will give floor to Efthalia Arvaniti for intro, who is the program manager of SUBMARINER Network for Blue Growth. She also manages SUBMARINER's Blue Growth Accelerator, its 9 active cases and 20+ mentors and supporters. So, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Elari. Well, welcome from my side also. Good morning, everyone. This is a great event that we are organizing for the second time, but with different speakers and a slightly different topic. So this is meant especially for companies at the later technology readiness level, and I'm very happy that we have three very nice and capable speakers after me. My role here is introductory, so today we have 22 people in the room. Some of you do not know us. And the purpose of the meeting, of course, is to introduce you to what we do and why we are doing this, as this is part of a bigger project and effort. Yeah, so not to lose time. Yeah, I'm a program manager of the SUBMARINER Network, and I'm also working in this project, which is actually becoming a service under the SUBMARINER Network. But together with me, I have Elari and many other partners. SUBMARINER Network is a flagship program of the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region. So we're helping the European Commission reach its goals. We are a non-for-profit network in the Baltic Sea region, so 9 countries. And we are public and private organizations from universities, research institutes, government, technology parks, and SMEs and startups. We are caring especially for, since we are also a flagship of the EU strategy for the macro-regional strategy of the Baltic Sea region, we have both regional and global issues to tackle with. So SUBMARINER working is towards finding solutions to sustainable aquaculture, for example, for battling overfishing for food production. I don't know if you know that the Baltic Sea is a very eutrophicated sea, so we have to take into account everything in our activities. So we're taking sustainability at high stake, even before it becomes, now it's a very important topic, but we started in 2010 with investigating this. Of course, we're looking for plastic pollutions, and we are looking also at possibilities into using all these capacities we have in the Baltic Sea region for technology transfer, and also for creating jobs so people don't have to move their rural communities and so on. So we are working across different marine sectors. We have identified these sectors as the key for the Baltic Sea region. So we're working with mussel farming, seaweed, sustainable fish and shrimp aquaculture, and blue biotechnology as a blue bioeconomy sectors. But also we are working with management of space, maritime space, so maritime spatial planning and combinations of offshore use with the wind parks and aquaculture, for example, for multi-use, and underwater heritage and tourism. Yeah, so I will not to go deeper into this as we don't have much time, but I have this very nice complex slide for you. The purpose of this is not to read it, of course, but what you should know is that we started as an Interreg project 2010, and we were founding in 2014, and since then we have a number of projects we are working on, but we are working based on a roadmap, so we are caring for curating the results. So the first generation of projects, for example, have gotten into second generation of projects, taking on board the recommendations and the next actions. And also we have a number of permanent working groups working on the side, the SUBMARINER, with members on board. And one of these will be the one I will gonna talk to you today. So the Alliance Plus project was, in fact, in 2016, where the purpose was to build the mentoring program and accelerator for startups and SMEs working particularly in blue biotechnology. But now, since then, we have mentored 30 cases in the first phase at least, and now we are moving on towards operationalizing this mentoring and accelerator program into the SUBMARINER network. And from spring this year, it's going to be a permanent service offer under the SUBMARINER. So the rationale behind it is that Baltic states are small states with various populations and different capacities and interests, and of course national strategies. So we are bringing together actors across the Baltic states for the purpose of providing services to startups and SMEs, developing all along the value chain, so from idea to the market. So we bring together scientists, technology providers, but also consultants and experts on that trip. Yeah, so they started with Blue Biotechnology, and we were many partners, but now we are opening up. So since spring, we are going to we are already actually working on blue growth sectors and blue bioeconomy sectors, not only blue biotechnology. So we have also marine litter, we have wastewater treatment, we have sensors and aquaculture. So we have a diverse, I will tell you more about that. So from spring on that the project is finishing, we are aspiring of taking full capacities of our members of the different marine sectors that we are working on. It's going to be a permanent service offer, and we are keep working into integrating more companies, since the members requested that we have more companies and SMEs and startups in our network, because this is the future of blue bioeconomy, and we're going to have activities for company corner. So just for the last year, during the COVID, we have been very active despite all odds. So we have already recruited more than 35 members, new mentors during the pandemic. In total, we have 70 mentors and service providers from the Baltic Sea and beyond. So if you are not in the Baltic Sea, that is not necessarily an issue. You can still join our network. If you are interested in mentoring and providing services for startups, we have 10 active cases. We have already 30 alumni, and we have organized 3 pitching events. I will tell you more about the next coming on the 24th and 25th of March. And we have also 3 webinars on funding. We have monthly mentors forum where mentors and cases meet, and also we have guests every month. And we have also, of course, investors as regulars. And you can see some of our mentors' faces here, which without them we wouldn't be able to do it. So I'm representing many people here. And you're very welcome to join us. As a network and as a accelerator, we are as a network accelerator, we are providing a mentoring and matchmaking, of course, to people involved. So all our members, but also mentors and cases, are provided with networking and matchmaking facilities. So they have an online profile, which you can visit on our website, join Mentors Forum, of course, and we have also promoting interests. And we have also a new project with Baltic Catalog, where we are cataloging, promoting companies, especially SMEs, working with blue bioeconomy, sustainable blue bioeconomy. That is a new project coming up now. Yeah, so registration are opening for the event, I will tell you, but a step back, this is an important year for us for the 2021. We are planning to have a number of events when we are launching our new roadmap, an update of the old roadmap we had in 2014, where actually we can visit and what we believe that are the next actions. And aside to that, we have also events for matchmaking, for launching new working groups and so on. So you can see this on the website under this link that I put here, and you're all very welcome to join. And most of the events here are open for all. For the next matchmaking event we have for the Blue Growth Accelerator that I'm talking today, we have on 24th and 25th of March. The registration are opening today. We're going to have some very nice discussions. We have 3 pitching events, competitions for different startups and SMEs that they are pitching against judges. And also we have a nice discussion and panel discussions so that everybody can have an active role actually. So we are offering mentoring and coaching. And the Blue Growth Accelerator is offering mentoring and coaching, of course, scientific support, access to biological resources, communication, legal advice, business development, and project development. So we are very versatile, and we are relying on people's capacities here, bringing it together. So our accelerator case, just to give you an idea, the active ones, they are dealing with different biomasses and different providing developing products, services, and technologies. So very diverse food and non-food applications and technology providers, and so on. But also we have non-bio, so to say, so companies that they are working with bioremediation or sensors or marine litter. The state of development of the cases we are recruiting is very diverse. You can see here the green. So we have also companies at very early stage that they are not even founded companies. They are more projects like others are in R&D, but also others in product development. There is space for everyone, and this is the purpose because we have such a diversity, and the mentors that are interested in different stages of development. And then we have food and non-food cosmetics and bioactive compounds or environmental food. We're working with microalgae, macroalgae, bacteria, and water, and from different countries as well. So what we do uniquely is that we are taking on board early stage companies as well as more advanced technologies with more in the development, in the upscaling and the commercialization stage. We have no curriculum really. We have an ad hoc, 100% ad hoc approach where the applications are landing from applicants can submit a business idea of which they are explaining what the needs are, and based on the application process and valuation, we try to find mentors that they are interested in this startup and find exactly what is a setup of people that would be beneficial for them, and jointly they develop an implementation plan. We have more than 70 mentors from 11 countries at the moment. We have blue detectives that they are recruiting, like what I'm doing with you today now. Blue detectives recruiting mentors and cases and supporters. We have also mentoring, we see peer mentoring of all cases, veteran cases supporting fresh ones, which is a very nice atmosphere. So this is from our last event in January 2020. That was the last time we managed to be together before the pandemic. So when it comes to the future, as I said, the funding of the Interreg project is finishing in April. So for the future, our business model requires that we encourage all mentors and service providers and cases to become members. It's not, it's just a kind gesture. It just helps in the administration fee. But it would be also part of the network, meaning that they are benefiting from all members' benefits, not just the accelerator. Mentors and blue detectives work voluntarily, so there is no funding at least until we get new funding for that, which we are working intensively, and we have already worked a lot in the 2020. Service providers can, of course, offer service contracts and also work in kind. This is something that service providers decide and negotiate with cases. We are developing projects, for Horizon, and today we will hear also other opportunities like Eurostar and also cascade funding. I'm very curious to hear what is going to happen today. But also we are open for investors if they want to adapt the case and provide some innovation vouchers to spend in service provision, and also we're looking at sponsors and philanthropists to work on that as we are not-for-profit. So we are looking for mentors and cases and supporters of all round innovation, universities, innovation hubs, specialist clusters. We are very open to that. If you want to submit a business idea, you can contact me or go to the website. This is the landing page of Accelerator. Or if you want to become a mentor or a supporter, please contact me again. This is from me, from my side. I hope it was useful for you. I will be here till the end, but also you can reach me by email. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm happy to take your questions later.
Thank you very much, Efthalia, for this introduction. And as next one, we will have Donatas Ionikas, who is from Startup Marketing Advisor, and he was listed in World's Top 30 Startup Gurus in 2020. So it's very interesting to hear.
Okay, hello everyone whom I didn't meet before the event, so it's really a pleasure to be here and to share some thoughts, some insights. And today I'm going to cover the topic of early stage startup funding, what are different sources and how to choose these sources and how to prepare. Actually, we do such training that takes roughly the full day, but today I have only 15 minutes. So let me make this presentation like a guideline, like a top-notch points where the most attention should be paid. And each startup, depending on their development stage, depending on their industry and on their geographical location, as well as geographical market targeting, should find, based on these guidelines, possibilities to be funded. So first of all, let's talk about different sources for funding. And you know, now it's easier than ever to get funds if you have really good idea, great team, and you have found the market opportunity. And before it was much more difficult compared right now because of the economic situation and the digitalization of the market, as well as, well, come on, due to COVID, most of startup events and most of startup fundraising activities got online into a much faster pace than before. But okay, first of all, let me check the most essential things before we dive deeper into how to prepare for fundraising and for meeting potential investors. So the first one point is, do you have the skin in the game as a startup founder? Every investor will ask you this question, even if they don't ask that during the pitch, during the meeting with you, they will have this in their mind. And here we are talking about your personal savings, your personal investment in building your startup. Well, as we are thinking about biotechnology startups, personal savings and startup loans are less of a tool right here, but it still is meaningful. First of all, it's more difficult because most biotech startups are highly intensive for financing. So there are only few individuals probably all over the world that could finance from their own savings the development of their startup idea. At least some prototypes, at least some mock-ups, at least some idea sketches could be presented with this resource. Here we are also talking about startup loans and personal loans, like peer-to-peer lending, like possibilities to acquire the equipment to finance your business initially. Yes, it's very difficult to get a loan, to get some financial support for your startup if you are just started the business, especially if you're talking without any possibilities to attach to the government support. I'm talking to startups in different countries, and if you have established your own company, you put, okay, what you had of your own savings, and banks are not eager to finance you because, well, you are a very high risk profile client. And here in Lithuania, at least, we have Invega, and we have some other guarantees and subsidies from the government side for startups. And that's how we come to the next funding source, grants and public funding. I always advise to startups, once they put at least some of their own finances, well, to show the interest, to show their personal take in the game, try to source for possibilities what kind of grants and subsidies they could get. And I always see quite many possibilities over here. Sometimes these possibilities aren't opened yet, but they are being prepared. And at least in Lithuania, we had Eurostars, a really great opportunity, and many startups were funded for building their own prototypes at the very early stage, as we are talking about early stage startup development. In other countries are quite similar programs. And later on, at the end of the presentation, I will show you a few links to a few platforms where you could register as a startup founder or even as an investor and do a lot of things by following up the niche, the market you are interested in terms of building and developing startup, or as attracting possible investments. Another one source that we can slightly touch here, university funds. Well, the situation is highly different in different countries, but if we are talking about a biotech startup that is a spin-off of the university, this is a valid funding source, and we shouldn't neglect it. We at least should check it whether it's possible or not. Of course, if you're not a university spin-off, yeah, sorry, we should skip this one. Startup accelerators and incubators. A few years ago, maybe 5 to 6 years ago, it was quite interesting and quite attractive funding source for most early stage startups, because you could get not only mentorship, not only like an incubation and acceleration services, like to get some kind of an office, to get some mentors, to get some coaching, to get some on-site resources, labs, and etc. But you could also get some funding. And in few of these startup accelerators and incubators, they actually not only took equity in exchange for some intangible assets like coaching and mentorship, but they actually spent some money on these startups. Well, there aren't too many startup accelerators and incubators that could give away just money as, okay, take my money and do whatever you wish. But there are quite many startup accelerators and incubators that can propose you a possibility to fund some of your activities and your purchases related to building, to developing your startup solution. As for instance, you say, hey, I need to get this kind of equipment. I need, well, to rent it or to buy it. And the accelerator or incubator could propose you to cover the costs, or could help you to find a possible provider, well, in exchange of barter opportunities or whatever they arrange as an institution, as an accelerator. And now we are coming to these like true investors, true money holders. First of all, angel investors. If we are speaking about early stage startups and it is pre-seed or seed stage funding, Angel investors is probably the first door you should knock after you put your own finances. You talk to 3F, friends, family, and fools, and after you checked grant possibilities in your country, in your industry. Angel investors, well, they are okay to jumpstart with the early stage startup, but I see quite often that many startups simply pass this opportunity, because if you are a startup founder who has a significant amount of your own personal savings, let's say even if it is just 30, 50,000 of euros, you still can start building some kind of a prototypes. And if you can get some kind of attraction, if you can get signed initial contracts or protocols of intentions with significant industry players, you don't need angel investors' money, because these money are too expensive for you. Angel investors usually take a quite big share of your equity in exchange for 20 to 100,000 euros. Okay, if in Lithuania we have the co-investment fund, in some other countries there are similar funds, but not in every country, which means that if angel investors invest in your startup a certain amount, in Lithuania, the co-investment fund could add, if I'm not mistaken, up to 80% of the investment. So if angel investors say, hey, we can invest 20,000 euros, you could get additionally 80,000 euros from the co-investment fund. And this fund doesn't take an equity from you. It's an interest-based, like a loan. And in co-investment fund, you have an opportunity to buy out. If you are an angel investor, you can buy out this funding amount and to acquire shares, equity of the startup. Or if the startup failed, actually the co-investment fund doesn't sue you to the court, and they say, hey, oops, sorry, something wrong happened. It's okay. It's not a problem. You are a startup. That's cool about that. And we are jumping now to venture capital. If you are a biotech startup, to build a really successful startup and get significant traction, really meaningful traction in the market, especially in the international market, without venture capital funds, it will be very, 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 very difficult, unless you are backed up by your secondary company or your primary company or some of your investors. And you can apply for like a experiment subsidy program or some other significant programs where you can get hundreds of thousands of euros of subsidies. That's totally okay. But generally, venture capital fund, and we are speaking here about few investment rounds in venture capital fund, not one but few. And final, but last but not the least, as it is said, business income in at once. And soon I will show you a very, very short and simple example. If you're building a startup in biotech and you haven't developed your biotech solution yet, maybe you can sell your services or products that are not the main product, which is not the main service of your product that you're building right now, but maybe you have something that has worth in the market, and this way you could earn your money. You could earn the financing of your startup without giving away your equity and without paying any interest rates. And here is an example from Turkey. I met Elton a few years ago when I was writing my book, Startup Evolution Curve. It was in 2016, so it is 5 years back. And the startup is successful. They survive and strive right now. And how they actually did. Everest Biotechnology is a life science company which develops, well, as they say, innovative products for DNA testing. And well, there stands the story behind that. They have some product lines under development, what they want to propose to the market. But what's the most interesting here in terms of our today's topic is that Everest Biotechnology got $30,000 grant from government in Turkey to find new and simple solution for specific biotech problems. They prepared the application, they got funded, and their academic background was a large part of the success. But they didn't stop and they didn't expect to get funded only by grants, by government, or by somebody else. What they actually did, they actively sold their services and products to the global market, even they were in Turkey. Well, we can say that we live, well, in Lithuania, Estonia, or whatever small country, but even if you are in Turkey and you can sell to global market, why can't we do the same? And here's what they actually do. Well, we develop innovative life science solutions and DNA for food safety, LF-DNA isolation technologies, personal genomics, other research areas. And as you see, they have some products, some products for sale, some services for sale, some training. What does it mean? That this company actually acts in the market, they get money, they are building their own product like in a side way. That's way how they take a look into the startup fundraising. And now a very brief review of startup fundraising process. How does it look like? So first of all, we set up our fundraising milestones. What do we want to achieve and how much time have you foreseen for that? You can't go for money hunting without expecting, well, what I'm going to do. No, we need clear understanding what we want to achieve. We need to prepare materials, how we're going to represent our startup, how we're going to explain these milestones and the ask of money to achieve these milestones, networking and relationship building. Fundraising doesn't happen in a day. It takes time. And the sooner you start your networking, the better. It's actually really amazing that you have such opportunity as this event and this whole like, I don't know how to call it, like this activity. That is a huge networking potential over here. Then we are coming to the initial offers from chosen investors or from those investors whom you choose, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to choose one investment from one offer. No, your task as a startup founder is to get few investment proposals and to choose the best one. Term sheet, well, you are signing a term sheet before drafting and managing all legal processes. If you can't agree on the term sheet, it doesn't make sense to proceed. Then you close the deal, you receive funds, and you actually build. You build, you develop what you've said in your milestone definition, what you want to achieve, and it is obvious that you have to report and act accordingly to the agreement and conditions. And I see too many startups failing exactly in this phase, because they say, oh, yes, good, we secured our deal, we got money, now we're going to have a party, and okay, everything's nice, the sun is shining, and wow, amazing. No, guys, that's not amazing. It's just the start of the real work. Before that, it was the preparation for building your startup, for building your technology. Now you have to do that. You need to fit in the budget, and you need to report to the investors how you are succeeding. And furthermore, you need to start preparing for the next round. The day you finalize, the day you sign the agreement for fundraising, for funding your startup, the next day is when you start preparing for your next round. This is the real life of startups. And here is a brief fundraising action plan, what you should focus on as a startup founder, like steps, what you should do, and well, when you should do that. So first of all, as we talked in previous slide, identify the key milestones of your startup development, what you generally need to achieve. And well, I usually prefer to have two lists of milestones. One is the ideal list of milestones that, okay, this is my goal, this is my global picture, what I want to achieve. And okay, this is a realistic 1-year goal list. Okay, this will require less of funding. It will be like more reasonable in terms of resources and times. The second step is to estimate your financial needs to related milestones. How much money exactly you will need for each of these milestones. And don't say that, hey, how can I measure that? It's difficult and blah, blah, blah. No, if you can't do that, why should I trust you my money if I'm an investor? Well, how do I know you spend my money wisely if you don't actually know and if you don't understand how much this costs to build one or another solution? You need to have at least rough estimations over here. The third step is to decide the right time to start fundraising. Yep, sometimes it's too early to start and to pitch, especially if you aim to get a high valuation of your startup. We will cover this very, very, very shortly. But in terms of the fundraising, you should run out of the building as fast as possible, but you should be prepared. And before preparing your material, before preparing like all these details, you need to define your preferred conditions. How much money you are going to look for, and how much equity you are ready to give away. Once you have that, try to maximize your startup valuation to increase the estimated value of your startup, because the higher the valuation of your startup is, the less equity you will have to give away for the same investment size. Then create the list of at least 30 targeted investors. Don't hope for the best. You know, there's the saying, spray and pray. In startup world, it doesn't work. You need to find out targeted investors and try to reach them out, try to approach them, and obviously try to become visible and regularly update your online presences. At the end of presentation, I will show you few platforms where you must be. If you aren't on these platforms, you aren't a startup, or you are in a totally stealth mode, you know, you're hiding from somebody. And obviously you need to reach out your target investors regularly. So a few factors how to increase your key valuation, because it's an essential step. Well, pre-money valuation defines how valuable, how much does your startup cost, how much it is worth before the investment. And the higher this valuation is, well, the less equity you will have to give away for the same amount of money. You know, sometimes it may look difficult, strange, but actually it's not. And if you are already in the VC funding stage, when you're looking for venture capital fund, I strongly advise you to hire a consultant, an advisor who is good in fundraising. I'm personally in marketing, but those guys who deal in funding and valuations, they have access to valuable data, and they could help you to increase your startup valuation. It will help you a lot. So few things that influence your valuation. Obviously, performance of your startup, what you have achieved so far, your market specifics, competing funding offers, what you have from other competing investors, and your personal negotiation skills. So in terms of performance of your startup, okay, your historic performance, what you have achieved so far, and what are your milestones, what you want to achieve. Market specifics, well, like it or not, but location of the startup make a huge difference. And a study that was performed 5 or 6 years ago showed that the same startup based in India is 3 times less worth than startup based in US. And well, it depends on the country. Okay, timing, industry situation, and etc. So we are coming to an end, because well, the time is pressing me, and I need still to leave some minutes for Q&A. So here are a few recommended platforms. AngelList, I don't know if you are already on these platforms. You know, it's a crime if you are a startup and you are not on this platform. AngelList, they claim that they are the largest world startup community, and I will show you the next one platform, which says that they are also the #1 platform for startups in the world. So these are two largest ones. And why should you join this platform? Well, first of all, it's free of charge. Well, you might find additional services over here, but free of charge you can get tremendous value. If you build your startup profile over here, quite many investors might see you. I wouldn't hope for the miracle to happen that investors saw you on AngelList and reached you out and said, "Hey, I'm begging on my knees, take my money." No, it's not going to happen. But if you approach to some investors and try to pitch, try to say what you're building, what you're doing, wise investors will definitely check you online. And if they can't find you on AngelList, on any of other platforms, well, this will ring the bell for them and might raise the red flag that probably you aren't very serious about that, or you are not sure what you are doing on. So check the AngelList, join it, and you can find potential investors, potential colleagues. You could potentially recruit some employees over here as well, and you can find amazing content over here. The next platform is F6S. And well, as you see, grow your startup in the #1 global community. More than 4 million founders and startups are right here. So this platform is really good for, well, getting financing, getting some free benefits. Like if you have the premium membership of this platform, you get some discounts and some perks from other companies. post startup jobs, do some startup meetups. But what's the most interesting for me and the most valuable probably for every early stage startup is that they announce different events and different funding initiatives, different subsidies and different startup competitions. You create your profile right here. You have the definition of your startup, of your mission statement, of your value proposition, maybe your pitch deck. And once you find on F6S that there is some kind of a global competition, a European competition in any field of biotech or, in any industry, in any market, you can apply to it. And I know at least few startups who won 20,000 euros, 50,000 euros as a grant, as a subsidy without any kind of a refund, just because they took part in the competition and won the competition. That's it. So try to register on this platform and become visible. Crunchbase is another one top-notch platform for startups, not only for early stage startups. And if you will start thinking, okay, how much my startup is worth, go on Crunchbase, and probably you will have to pay a little bit to get access to the data, because on Crunchbase you can find valuable information based on industry, based on location, based on funding round, how much funds were attracted to each startup and for how much equity. Definitely not all data is available, because if it was a confidential deal, you won't find it. But at least you could find, hey, the startup in similar stage as ours was backed by this kind of a VC or angel investor. They got 200K, 400K in exchange for 8% of equity, 15% of equity. And this will give you the rough estimation of at least what you could expect if you would go for fundraising and meeting investors, well, right now in your current situation. And the last recommendation in terms of platforms is InMind. It's a European platform. I knew them since their early days, and they are evaluated quite strongly. Now they have the community of more than 10 or 11,000 startups and investors, and they provide really great content about startup development. Maybe they are not very keen on biotech, but what's interesting that you can find some startup service providers over here. And one of the most interesting things why I've included InMind right here is that there you could find the startup valuation service. And as I talked to Nelly, one of the co-founders of InMind, she said that they introduced this service by some experts, worldwide known expert, author of the book, and the deal making startup world. And every startup could get the valuation done by this expert at a price of 500 euros or dollars. So it's like a miserable amount of money to find out and to have the backup of how much your startup is worth. I don't know how much the service costs right now, but at least less than a year ago, it was like priced at 500. So you wanna check it if you are going for fundraising, and if you are aiming to get the investment of at least 100,000 euros and more. So that's it. And finally, recommendation for some additional resources if you would love to read and to check a bit more. These books aren't very new, but they have their golden rules represented right here. So it's get backed. It means, well, get funded, the art of startup fundraising, and the fundraising rules. Any of the books is great. And well, if I would be my first day spending on startup funding, I would definitely check all of these books, at least skim them and get some ideas over here. So it's time for Q&A, and I'm ready to take them.
Thank you. It was really a good presentation again. You're just very good. We don't have any questions in the chat. Does anyone want to ask something?
No, everybody has enough money. They don't need to go for funding. They're just looking for investment opportunities for amazing startups. Okay. Okay,
then we can go on.
Okay.
So, just made Joost Haugmark from Nordic Innovation Innovators from Denmark is the next presenter, and he writes proposals for InnoBooster, Eurostars, and the Accelerator programs for their Danish and Norwegian clients. So the floor is yours. Very good.
Thank you, Ellery.
Sorry, we saw your slide, and now we saw the. Now it's perfect.
Yes, I don't have access to the controls for the GoToWebinar while presenting, so that's why. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I am Joost Haugmark Jensen. I'm working as a project consultant for Nordic Innovators, which is a grant consultancy company based in Copenhagen, Denmark. We also have offices in Oslo, Aarhus, and Barcelona, and Malaga, so Denmark, Norway, and Spain. We work with both national and European funding. My background, I'm an agricultural economist. I used to work for a solar startup in Denmark called Dansolar, and now I've been working as a fundraiser or project consultant, helping writing grant applications for the past 5 years. I will be talking about Eurostars, and here we go. What is Eurostars? Eurostars is a joint program. It's a collaboration between Eureka and the European Commission. Most European member states are in, and a few others. It's co-funding, so there's a bit of European money, and then there's a lot of national money in this. And typically, you only relate to your national office, your national point of contact, abbreviated NPC. But there is also the Eureka Secretariat in Brussels that takes care of some of the central coordination. There's been funded more than 1 billion euros through this program during the past 7 years. The average success rate is quite high. Here they say 29%. Recently, it's more like 25%. Awareness is increasing, competition is increasing. There are more R&D intensive startups and SMEs applying, so that's one reason why. Eurostars supports the R&D intensive SME, and they do so through supporting a project that must have a technology area, but it's bottom up. So any area that's civilian purpose is eligible. I worked on a few projects that are within Blue Growth, one which is currently being evaluated, and also some on recirculated agriculture systems recently. There is a lot to come for here as an R&D intensive SME. You can develop new product, you can develop new process or service or combination thereof. You need to consider how you go to market. Summing up, it supports your R&D. It's driven by SMEs, so there's an SME in the driver's seat at least. It's fast track to market, and requires international cooperation. You need to be in the market no more than 24 months post-project, or if it is biomedical, then clinical trials need to occur or appear to occur within 24 months. Project duration should be no more than 36 months. We typically work with 24. It's collaborative, and it's about 100 or 500 projects that are funded per round. There are 2 rounds per year. There's an NPC in each country that you need to reach out to if you plan to apply, and they will guide you and help you into making sure you're eligible. You want to check that funding rates and so on are good, and that you have something worthwhile applying for, because it can be comprehensive, and you also want to make sure that the partner you're working with is qualified for funding. In some countries, you might have some feedback from the NPC, or they might have specific opinions that need to be observed. Eligibility, there needs to be a consortium, at least 2 participants, and the lead must be an Rnd Intensive Sme, the other can be that as well. And there are some budget requirements. So from 2 Eurostars countries, that means European countries, but can also be others. Most countries in the EU participate. Greece is currently not participating. Ireland can also be modest, but otherwise, most of the countries you are from in the audience are qualified. You might also be qualified to lead. That's very likely. And it is a question of where you are legal entity. And it's really important that everyone is eligible and that the project overall is eligible. So universities can also participate. In some countries, large enterprises, sometimes also research centers, institutes, universities, hospitals, public or private, are invited. But check that nationally. Just to give you an overview of some of the countries, I've highlighted some of the ones that are also seen here. Then what is an Rnd Intensive Sme? Well, it's really a company that has at least 5 people or 10% of FTEs or 10% of turnover dedicated to R&D. And then if you're more, but I mean, typically we work this out. There can be a few different definitions that have something to say nationally, but overall you should be all good, and check with your NPC. Budget requirements to make sure the SME is in the driver's seat, at least 50% must be dedicated to SMEs. So if you're more SMEs, that's of course easier, but otherwise at least 50% to the SME. No participant can have more than 75%. No country can have more than 75%. Rules are specific. Everyone is having some co-funding, even the universities, typically. On average, Eureka says that the budget is 1.4 million and it's 29 months in duration, and it's 6 months from submission deadline to project start. That means, also in my experience, it's typically 500,000 euros you can apply for per country. Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia is a bit lower, 150 to 140 to 300,000. But it's typical that you have 500,000 euros, you have around 50% funding, sometimes a bit higher for universities, a bit lower for large enterprises if they are invited. You can get funding for R&D, design, piloting, prototyping, also some related areas like risk assessment, dissemination, project management, a little bit of also market analysis. But of course, it has to make sense, and you pick and choose what makes sense for you. It's mainly personnel costs. There can be overhead costs. These are country specific. Travel to a certain degree. It's funded, but you don't want too much travel. It's not effective. Materials, equipment even sometimes. Also direct project related costs like accounting of the project and some subcontracting. And country specific, and there may be opinions or specific rules, so that's an ongoing disclaimer. Talk to your NPC. So Yeah, the application is questions in boxes with a character limit of 2,000 typically. There's a lot of these questions. I'll go them through quickly. The submission system is online. It's a project lead that needs to register, and then everyone else will register after submission, and then everyone will sign the proposal immediately after submission. And then you have an annex where you can provide any illustrations. I typically say that the Eurostars applications, whatever you can write on the typewriter, because you can't do any change in fund, or you can't do any figures. So you attach these in the annex. This is how it looks like online when you log in. This is the pitch, so the first page. There's a few drop downs, and there's a very sort of sum up. This is basically a one-pager. What is it all about? It's a very good place to start. Also, when you discuss and structure your proposal. The pitch consists, the proposal consists of pitch, business case, project description, work packages, consortium overview, and participants. And participants include the budget. So for the pitch, it's title, it's what you want to do, how will you make money, very short, just one pager, but also very good as a point of discussion. Then there's the business case and the commercial part, which is, well, basically my favorite. Most of it is 2,000 characters, some of it is 4,000 characters. You need to talk about your co-funding, you need to talk about, again, the commercial goals, what are you going to sell, how is this new, and yeah, you want to say it's breakthrough, basically. And then also how many months after completion of the project will you go to market. A few more questions. Also that the consortium is qualified. How is it different? Why is it innovative? What are the main competitors? You need to know these things, or you need to find out during the proposal preparation. You need to provide also a sales forecast, and you can elaborate on that in the annex. Then there's the project description. So how will you go about it? How will you develop? How will you collaborate? So the methodology. Then also, what is a technical challenge? So why is this difficult, or why is it not done yet? Then there's a short section about risks, and you need to be accurate and focused here. One second. Then it's what other methods, so also a non-technical competition, and you say your product is better for this reason or that. And then ethics is very, very important and should be taken seriously in Eurostars. There's 4,000 characters for that, and there's also typically a follow-up post-submission if you're qualified. Then there's the work packages that you can distribute among you. We have a go-to structure for this, but basically you can divide into different technical work packages. You can have project management, you can have dissemination, you can even prepare yourself a little bit and coordinate to begin with. And there's, well, 10,000 characters to describe the work packages, so you have to be very eager to exceed this character limit. It does happen when you really get into it, but most cases this is fine. You have plenty of space here. Then you need to talk about who is actually participating, who are you, who are your partners, and you need to also be mindful of your current funding and how you will fund yourself going forward, especially as an SME. It's easier for the large enterprises, and it's a bit of a non-issue for the universities. They're a bit baffled when they are asked this, and they don't need to talk much about it. But they still need to answer. Yes, and there's a bit about IPR. There's also how will the IPR be shared within the consortium? What is your IPR background, foreground? yeah, then there's just the specifics of the participants. And then your expertise or your competence, a bit more about your financials, your co-funding specifically. Then also, did you get any funding before, public or private? Did you have any previous R&D projects? This is really an advantage that you've done other R&D before and that you have experience with this, and you, at least as a lead, have experience in running R&D projects, preferably in the SME, and preferably where there was some self-funding before. This really reduces the risk of Eurostars. Then a bit about your motivation. Should be pretty easy part of the project to fill in. And then here's the budget. That's a bit of a quirk. So typically we recommend that you work in an Excel sheet and fill in from there. But this is the number of person months and then the personal costs based on the months and your rate, overhead, travel, materials, other subcontracting, that adds to a total, and from that you deduct from the funding rate, and you make sure that it all adds up. You have more than 50% across the SMEs, and if you are, when you compare between countries, no country has more than 75%, and no entity has more than 75%. Yes, this is. Then what happens? So you've submitted your proposal. There's an initial check. Then you are eligible. That's where we are for the proposals resubmitted for the previous round for February. So they're pretty quick with that. Then the expert evaluation is now ongoing for the last round. There's a financial viability check from the NPCs, so they will make sure you are not an undertaking in trouble. You still have your capital in your equity. There is a good chance you can actually co-finance when they look at the financial reports that you've attached. Then there's the high-level evaluation, or panel evaluation, where they rank the projects from 1 to 300, and then less than 300 maybe don't get a ranking. The experts are quite detailed, so you get some good feedback you can actually use in case you don't get the money, both for the project and otherwise. They really have a knack for finding qualified evaluators that are really good at going into the detail and saying, why is this good, why is this less good. And then there might be something about ethics, and this is mainly if you have full or conditional ethical approval. And then there's the funding synchronization. That means when they're ranked, then each country looks at how many projects can they fund. Denmark was good at finding a bit of extra money, but typically it's 10 to 20 SME projects per country. So you might not be on the top, but you might still be lucky that another country has run out of funds. So you might be unlucky that your country is running out of funds, even if you were in the top 100, top 150. And then someone else with a different composition gets the money. So with different countries involved where they still have budget left. So that's one of the special things about Eurostars. Typically this takes a couple of months. We're looking towards May for this round, and then hopefully we should have an answer in June, and we can start new projects by 1st of September. So. Yes, this is basically details on what I just said about the rounds. Slides will be available after. This is quite important. This is the evaluation points, the proposal criteria, and you can use these also as a self-check. Also, if you have someone else looking over your shoulder while preparing a Eurostars. Do you feel all of this is good? And there's also a guide available at the Eureka homepage for this. Yes. I'll just skip through just to make sure we have a bit of time. Scoring, you need to score more than 120 out of 200 for each criteria. You need to score about 450 out of 600 all in all to actually get funded. So you need to be impressing, and you need to really be thorough with your application to get the money. But it's across the consortium, it's typically around 1 million euros at stake. So there's good reason to really invest in this. Yeah, there's a bit details here about ethics. This can relate to GDPR. It can relate to any subjects in your research, human or animal. It can also relate to any data being shipped across borders, so between EU and non-EU countries. Then the this is a lot of details here about the valuation. The national funding rules, they change. This is an example of Danish rules. German rules a bit more simple. 50% for SMEs, nothing for large enterprises. 50% without the SME. Practically, that's not feasible. They want the SME, and they can actually get 100%. Research organizations are welcome as well. Norwegian funding, also a bit the same. Large enterprises are welcome though. We have quite some experience working with Danish, Norwegian, German proposals. Good experience with that. Very decent funding. A bit more than €500,000 in Norway. Yes, you're most welcome to contact us. My contacts are on the bottom slide. If you have ideas for Eurostars project you want to bounce off with us. And then, I mean, you make sure you have a consortium, you check the partner's profile, you look into annual financial reports, making sure this is good. Each partner contacts the NPC, and then all partners agree on the overall objective, and then again, filling out the pitch can be really helpful tool in this. This is typically how we go about it, what we would suggest you would do to get started. These are very typical aspects of a larger proposal. This is just to give you an idea about a timeline. So going on from now, if someone really wants to work with us on this, we would suggest a kickoff meeting in a month or two from now. Spend 1 month helping you finalize the consortium. Draft work packages, first draft by early August. We would have a review, also with your input, final draft, final review, and then we'll be able to submit. We foresee the next deadline will be 4th of September, but nothing is out yet. If this all happens, then the ESR ranking would be around 1st of December. You could have your consortium agreement concluded 1 year from now, or a bit less, and you can start 1 year from now exactly. These are my contact informations, and yes, if you have any questions, please write in the chat. Maybe Larry can take it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions? Seems that we don't have questions. But anyway, if you do have some questions, you can turn to Joost. I will send his contacts later, so it's possible to contact. And also, if you have questions, you can write it, and I think Joost will stay until the end of the event here. And now,
that's great. just one thing I'd like to add. I mean, we're working with a lot of companies both in Denmark, Norway, Spain. We work with accelerators and incubators nationally. We work with universities in these countries too, and also international. So just to emphasize what was said before, we also appreciate this collaboration, and since we work with the grants, the soft funding, there are of course links to some of the other aspects. We also have contacts to Danish business angels and work actively with some of these.
Thank you very much. And now I will. We have last presenter, Vitor Vieira from INOVA. He's experienced in image processing, technical and software development, in particular in user interfaces and robotics. And in 2017, he won the award of Entrepreneur of the Year in the category of Services and Knowledge. And he is also a mentor at EIT Health and our Alliance Plus. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. I hope you can hear me well. Yeah, I also enjoyed very much Joost's presentation. I will definitely get in contact with you, because we also Eurostars is one of my favorite programs, funding programs. And to give you a bit of context on what INOVA does, so well, I will be talking about third-party funding in this presentation. This is the topic. To give you a context on that, so INOVA, we have 5 offices in Europe. I'm located in Heidelberg, Germany, but the headquarters is actually in Porto. We also have offices in Lisbon, Brussels, and Warsaw. And yeah, we do a lot of innovation management, so writing project proposals for different funding opportunities. But we also participate in such projects often, where we bring some software development component to development of a specific idea or innovation cycle that's interesting or complementary to clients' concepts. In that context, we've been very active in different funding opportunities, always scoping what's around. And one of the interesting things that we found since the Horizon 2020 was a relatively new concept of third-party funding or cascade funding. And what that is, basically the European Union provides funding for a specific idea or topic that's going to be researched, and finances a big consortium, several companies that organize around a specific topic. And it's the responsibility of that consortium to then delegate part of their funds to support smaller sized companies with their ideas, acceleration concepts, push to the market, some in a more lower technology readiness level, so basically on an idea level to the proof of concept, others from a proof of concept to a market demonstrable product. So it really covers a lot of different areas of where your company could be at the moment of development. And this becomes very interesting because it relinquishes a lot of the responsibilities from the European Commission to administer and manage all of those grant agreements, pushes that responsibility to the consortium. And the consortium in itself then distributes funds, sometimes between 20,000 to 100,000 euros, directly to the companies with very little overhead and and all the control mechanisms that come with it that become very exhausting for the company itself. Also, the application process is relatively simple and not at all as complicated as a Horizon Europe or Horizon 2020 proposal and all of the other more complicated processes to acquire funding for your ideas. So, how do you find these opportunities? Already Donatas mentioned the F-Success. I will get in on that shortly. There are basically 3 points of important information where you should register. Funding box and F-Success, you should create a profile there to and sign up for their newsletter. F-Success also has that aspect of community engagement, but also does funding box. So register for both. Doesn't harm you to get an email once a month with a few funding opportunities that might be relevant for you. And of course, the website of the European Commission, which contains all of the projects that are running under the flag of the European Commission funding agreements. So Horizon 2020, which are now finishing, and Horizon Europe, which is now starting. They're all listed there, and some of them are not listed in either funding box or F-Success. So in a way, you should look into these three websites. Later, my slides will be shared with the participants, and they contain the links, so you can quickly just click on them and get more information on that. Going into depth into these three sources of information. So in Funding Box, they really created a community concept around their funding opportunities. They have both an investors and ecosystem for a specific area of knowledge. They work a lot on advanced manufacturing, but they're not exclusive. They really support what they call champions, which are the SMEs, startups. And it's very interesting to join that community because you will get in contact with other companies that are working on the same field. You might find different synergies for your business, new approaches to improve your business concept, but also engage with other stakeholders and investors for your funding needs. And they have this corner where they list a lot of funding opportunities that are running over their platform. So the platform itself is the place where you write your application, your idea on what you want to research and get financed with all of the conditions that are there. So it varies again between 10,000, 20,000 to 100,000 euros, usually no more than that. Per a consortium, you can get 300,000 euros for an idea. It really depends on what you want to do, and I will get on that later on. On the site of F-Success, they are a competing website to Funding Box. While the Funding Box is located in Spain, and they have distributed offices across Europe, and they have a very strong office in Brussels, obviously. F-Success is UK-based. And not only did this provided a little bit of confusion with the Brexit, they took that challenge a little bit further and decided to then open up to other funding opportunities outside Europe. So you will also find here listed possibilities of getting funding from the US, sometimes from South Korea or other Asian countries. So you will find that they're a very interesting mix of funding opportunities, some of them requiring equity, as you can see here on this list. Most of them not. It's really zero equity, and then you can apply for your concept and ask for funding to carry out your research project. Sometimes these projects require a consortium where over these platforms you can then network with other companies and research institutes that are working on the same field and provide a joint proposal where you can finance your efforts. On the official website of the European Union, then you have this really long list of funding opportunities that are running, listed or ordered by the submission deadline. And you can quickly go through it. When you see a catching title that you know, okay, this is my area, I'm going to read a little bit about this. And you can then go to their website and see what's the application process. As I mentioned before, this is a website where you should definitely take a look in, because both F-Success and Funding Box do not contain all of the funding opportunities from the European Commission. They are only listed, all of them here. So it's interesting to take a look into that. And I did that bit of research for you already, at least on the blue economy concept. And I found only one proposal or one call for that specifically mentioned blue economy, which is the Galatea, where they want to finance the development of technology transfer concepts. So basically from the academia to the industry, up to 20,000 euros per proposal, or a prototyping, so basically upscaling already an existing concept to a more interesting proof of concept, up to 60,000 per SME, or even a large demonstrator, also 60,000 euros per SME. The deadline is at the end of the month, so you should hurry up to check if this is relevant for you, because yeah, it might just be the option to bring you further into wherever it is that you are in your innovation deadline. So why should you spend time with this? I already liked the presentation that Donatas made about all the different funding options that you have. And depending on where your startup is at the moment, it might be extremely relevant to support your business plan development with a prototype, with stating that you've been involved in an acceleration program, that you've been involved in this context, and you created a demonstrator that you can then publish and make people aware of your company, which in turn turns into traction that you can gain for customers, you can gain potential investors, you engage basically with the community, and you network with other people to grow your business in many different aspects. It's extremely important that you demonstrate your work in the market with such demonstrators. If you're not yet that ready to be commercially viable, you can indeed create your proof of concept, create a demonstrator, and it will help you find the investors for your next stage or to upscale your business. It is not so much about liquidity. We will not be laying in money here like our friends from Breaking Bad. It's really about bridging the gap of innovation, that F valley that you can jump across it and demonstrate a product in the market, product or service that is relevant for you. So you really should look into this, because yeah, it might just help you out with that liquidity problem that you might have for a short period of time. I should also mention that most of these projects are relatively small, between 3-6 months or up to 12 months. So 60,000 euros for a 6-month accelerator program to demonstrate your technology is pretty good. So yeah, you should definitely look into that. Just a little bit about ourselves, so you can definitely contact me. My contacts are at the end of the slides. If you need to discuss some potential idea, if there's an interesting approach that you can look into, many different funding opportunities, not just third-party funding, which appears to be small, but are indeed very relevant for startups and SMEs in their innovation stage. So yeah, just call me and let me know what you need and see if we can help each other. That's it from my side.
Thank you very much. So we are very good in time. It seems that we don't have questions. Does anyone want to ask something from Vitor, from Joost, Efthalia, or Tonikas? No, it doesn't seem so. But in that case,
I have a question. I have
yes.
a question for Vitor. Yes. Vitor, thank you very much. Thank you all, actually, the speakers. I learned personally a lot today. I don't know about the audience, but I was keeping notes. And we can certainly go back to you on this, because we can see a lot of potential for presenting our cases in the accelerator. And thank you all for sharing your knowledge today and opening up for collaboration. For Vitor, please, I mean, thank you very much for sharing the Galatea project. I think I've seen it somewhere very recently, but I don't really pay attention, and I should. So I will share this. The question is, you mentioned a website about the European Commission that is aggregating all the opportunities for cascade funding.
Mhm.
If you can also share the link so we can actually visit it. Yeah, this one.
Yes.
I
Yes.
didn't know about that, and I don't know how to reach them.
The link is in this
Okay.
slide, so you'll just click on it and you'll get to it. It's a little bit obscure, I confess. They didn't do a very good job in disseminating this information, so I'm glad to help. But the link is provided here, and this is what you expect to see on the website. Not
Okay.
exactly the same as the funding and tenders opportunities. There is a very general approach. This is a little bit hidden there.
So all the calls that we are listing here as calls that are open for small cascade funding for startups and SMEs in different sectors, correct? Wow, that's very good. I didn't know that this existed. And yeah,
some of them, it's hard to read, but for example, this was a deadline on 19th of February, so obviously it will be already closed by the time you visit it. But the list is very long, and they have pretty much every open call, it's published there.
It's very interesting. Thank you. Do we have any more questions? If not, then I would like to thank Efthalia, Tonikas, Joost, and Vitor for great presentations, and thank all for participating. And I will send the link of video and presentations to all participants. So thank you very much. And it was nice to meet you all.